Hello, hello, hello. My name's Elder, and welcome back to The Open Debate. I'll be your host for this evening, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you choose to be tuning in to this live event. So, does Donald Trump plan to keep America white? This is what we are going to be covering today. We're going to be going it over, and talking about this video that was released today, I believe, by Al Jazeera Plus, AJ Plus. So, before we get started, I think that we should maybe cover who AJ Plus are. If you're unaware, this is a channel here that likes to put up videos such as why even good billionaires are bad, how The Handmaid's Tale is the Christian rights playbook, can our planet survive capitalism, what's scarier to racists than reparations. So, just to give you a little backstory. And before we get started, if you would like to help support the channel, you can always donate through Streamlabs to help get a message pop up on screen and have your voice heard throughout the stream. And I'll leave the links in the description below, but I just think it's a good way to get the community involved. And yeah, I think that AJ Plus is interesting. It's fine to have news sources come from all different avenues, but
What's the real goal behind Trump's
look at this. But also, it's good to be aware of where those sources are coming from, right? And so, just a quick Wikipedia search, right? We'll go to Wikipedia. I know it's not the best. Source of information, as things can be changed at any point in time, as we'll come to see. But AJ Plus is an online news and current events channel run by Al Jazeera Media Network. The service is available on its website, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, with written content on Medium. English, Arabic, French, Spanish language versions are currently live, whatever. So they offer it in a few different languages, and they're a product of Al Jazeera Media Network. When you go down here to the format, it says AJ Plus is separated from Al Jazeera's other cable and satellite news channels, though it shares the network's current 68 bureaus with other channels. Though a citation is needed for this claim. There's no citation. Though below, without any caption as that, says the channel is now headquartered in Washington, D.C. Its headquarters were originally San Francisco, California. So note that. Its headquarters were originally San Francisco, California, in the expanded former headquarters and studio of Current TV. The channel has branch offices in Doha, Qatar, Istanbul, Rio de Janeiro, Kuala Lumpur, and Nairobi. It also collects and creates content through freelancers in other areas of interest. So with that being said, right, it lets you know that there are also other branches in different regions. But if you were just an average consumer, a lot of people would assume that this channel, or this, where you're getting this information from, originates from San Francisco, California. Its headquarters were originally in San Francisco, California. And also because it says AJ Plus is separated from Al Jazeera. But if we go and look up who Al Jazeera is, Al Jazeera, what it means, the island, through referring to the Arabian Peninsula, that is a Qatari state-funded broadcaster in Doha, Qatar, owned by the Al Jazeera Media Network. Initially launched as an Arabic news and current affairs satellite TV channel, Al Jazeera has since expanded into a network with several outlets, including internet and specialty television channels in multiple languages. But this is its mother company, right? Coming from Qatar, and they've been in operation for a long time. Going through. Al Jazeera's first day on air was the 1st of November 1996. It offered 6 hours of programming per day, increased to 12 by the end of '97. It was broadcast to the immediate neighborhoods as a terrestrial signal and on cable, as well as through satellites, which was also free to users in the Arab world, although Qatar and many other Arab countries barred private individuals from having satellite dishes until 2001. And so that's just a little bit of a background, and take it how you will. It's not saying that it can't be unbiased coming from the Middle East, but it's also good to keep in mind that the parent company of this news source that we're getting the information of whether or not Trump wants to keep America white again comes from a source that's essentially funded through companies that were founded in the Middle East. Interesting to me. I want to know what you guys have to say, what you think. Am I being racist or something? Like, just what is it? But I haven't actually watched this. When I saw it, I thought to myself, is this clickbait? What are we gonna see? And so let's just jump into the video and start reviewing what's going on here, guys.
What's the real goal behind Trump's anti-immigration policies? Besides Stephen Miller getting back at the Mexican kids who called him pinche gringo in high school, and when he asked them what it meant, they said beach body, and so he kept calling himself that for years? I'm Francesca Fiorentini, and in this episode of News Broke, we're looking at how this administration is systematically trying.
Fiorentini, that's who I'm talking to. It's you. You're the one that's hosting this, that's decided to put out this information, so all of my critique and criticism will go directly to you, and not just directly to you, the source that's providing you the platform to put out your ideas and just espouse your information. Well, that's getting criticized as well. But just so you know.
Trying to un-brown America. And that doesn't just mean mass deportation. It means ensuring brown people are forever excluded from democracy. The cat's out of
I honestly I can't even wait for this. Like, what does she mean to un-brown America, to make sure that brown people can't be part of democracy? Like, this is pretty wild already, boys and girls.
the white hood, people. This administration and the Republicans who support it are trying to stop immigrants of color from becoming citizens. And they've been working on so many levels, you really have to step back to appreciate it all. Trump's immigration policy is like Monet's water lilies, except they're just turds floating in an undrained swamp. Listen, I get wanting to look away from the issue of immigration. It's painful to witness, like a train wreck or your parents having sex on a train that's wrecking, but like your parents are into it.
Thanks for the sub.
So to recap where we are in this ring of hell, ICE arrests have gone up by 33% since 2016, and ICE has held an average of over 42,000 people each day in 2018, the highest average since 2001. Under the travel ban against Muslim-majority countries, the State Department has rejected more than 37,000 visa applications. Visa denials have also skyrocketed, specifically among Mexicans, Caribbeans, and South Asians. Trump is now trying to hold children in detention indefinitely and is issuing deportation orders for immigrants undergoing life-saving treatment for genetic diseases. That is a lot of sadness at once. So here is an obese cat playing with a baguette.
A lot of sadness when you frame everything in the worst possible light and make it seem as though everything is being portrayed negatively. The way that things are biasly spun, it's actually almost, it blows my mind. And to see them pump out these that many examples, they do have sources down here. So they show what would it take for Donald Trump to deport 11 million and build the wall, changing patterns, yada yada yada. They have a few sources, but with the amount of negative information that they try spouting out at you, and the amount of fear they're trying to instill into the individuals here that they're reaching, they really aren't backing it all up. But it's the deal with fake news and alternative realities, should I say. The way that people frame a story can be two completely different ways with the same facts. It's absolutely wild the way the world is going.
Ooh, look at the hind legs. Ooh. But some countries haven't seen much change at all. For comparison, only 3 Canadians were denied visas in 2018, and that's only because they were trafficking insulin. Hey, buddy, sorry to bother you, but I heard about your glucose problem. Also, the administration wants to eliminate family-based visa programs except for spouses or minors, stop all refugees from entering the U.S., and is even thinking of changing the Constitution's 14th Amendment, which guarantees birthright citizenship.
We're looking at that very seriously, birthright citizenship, where you have a baby on our land, you walk over the border, have a baby, congratulations, the baby's now a U.S. citizen.
Mr. Trump, that's your son. We know that privately, Trump has said he doesn't...
It's an interesting proposal there. I haven't looked into it too much, but it sounds kind of unreasonable. It sounds like a drastic measure to ensure that there isn't an incentive for people to come across the border and have children. But I don't personally think that would be the answer. I mean, if somebody's born in a country, they should have citizenship. Lee Mills, you just want them to be here legally so you can keep tabs on them, which makes sense, right? Like, if people come through the system legally, then the system can keep tabs on them. They're paying into taxes. Yeah, there's the argument that no matter who you are, you're going to be paying into taxes because you're buying food, you're in the economy living. But there's a big difference between just being in the economy and actually paying taxes that every other citizen has to pay at the end of the year. You know, doing your taxes there, bud.
Doesn't want people from so-called shithole countries, which we know means those with Africans and Latinos, because he then turned around and said he wanted more immigrants from Norway, which he might want to reconsider because 71% of Norwegians believe Donald Trump constitutes a real threat to world peace. Trump's affinity for Norway is as one-sided as all of his relationships, romantic or otherwise. All of these things amount to the great American unbrowning, the strongest part of Trump's presidential legacy next to cold filet-o-fish. But no matter what he says, it's what he and the GOP are doing that's ultimately important. So he might say that this is all just about attracting qualified immigrants and what they call merit-based immigration.
It's time to begin moving toward a merit-based immigration system, one that admits people who are skilled, who want to work.
Okay, those who have skills and contribute and...
About 680 migrants were rounded up at 7 food processing plants in 6 cities in Mississippi.
Are f***ing working. That raid, targeting mostly Latino workers, was also on the first day of school in Mississippi, leading to this unforgettably wrenching moment.
Government, please put your heart. Let my parents be free with everybody else, please. My dad didn't do nothing. He's not a criminal.
They love to use children. They love to use children as their scapegoats because if you make fun of a kid, you're an absolute monster. But just because it was the first day of school doesn't mean anything. That means that parents are probably either going to be at home or they're going to be out being able to do their thing. I don't know. It doesn't help. It doesn't take away. But if you've been in the country illegally, that there's a chance that you're going to be deported. It doesn't matter where you're from. It's not because you're brown. If you're on a border state with Mexico, there's obviously going to be more Mexican immigrants, legal and illegal. If you're on the border with Canada, I guarantee there's just going to be a mix of more Canadian immigrants and from wherever they're flying in from, perhaps, because I don't think there's a high immigration rate from Canada. But yeah, just use your head, use common sense, use logic. It really doesn't add up. Let's see. Trying to unbrown America, trying to keep it white. What about the black people? Like this, you're not addressing black people, you're not addressing Asian people, you're not addressing... I mean, there are so many colors of... there's only really a few different shades of colors of people, but there are so many places in the world with different colored people that you can't say that this is an unbrowning. What are you talking about?
Let's see, which workers have more merit? The people who make your Popeye's chicken sandwich possible, or whatever lackeys took that kid's dad away from her? I better see MAGA chuds getting up at 5 in the morning to pull out chicken gizzards for $7 an hour. Suddenly feels like a skill, huh? Wanting to switch to a merit-based immigration system is a thin veil for racism that also directly discriminates against the working poor, because it's utter hypocrisy that immigrants are being punished instead of companies who hire undocumented people to be able to keep paying crap wages that no citizen would want. And yet, the Republican Party is basically putting all of the remaining rotten eggs it has into the bigot basket, which pits white people against brown immigrants. Just listen to Senator and guy who never helps you with your bag on an airplane, Tom Cotton, as he falsely pits immigrants against American workers.
We bring over 1 million immigrants into this country a year. That means it puts great downward pressure on people who work with their hands and work on their feet. Now, for some people, they may think that that's a symbol of America's virtue and generosity. I think it's a symbol that we're not committed to working class Americans.
What? If anything, corporations aren't
Okay, if anything, corporations aren't committed to working class Americans. I think that there's clearly a problem if the majority of people working in sectors like agriculture and different very hard labor jobs are all immigrants, then there's a problem with working class Americans in general taking initiative and getting those hard demanding jobs. And it has to do with there's a class disparity and the amount of money that it takes to actually survive. And you know, I don't have all the answers, but I don't think that it's just purely racism. It's always the scapegoat. That's always the answer. It's their way out. It's all racism. They're racist. They have to get rid of brown people. It's because you're brown, you're different, and so clearly Republicans don't like you. Liberals, we do. We have the answers, and we are progressive. We're very good people. Everybody loves us. Join our team.
Committed to working class Americans, and the government denying people citizenship status, ensuring there's always a powerless workforce, actually helps them to do that. Undocumented people are like movie extras. They're underpaid and overworked, and while their work often goes unnoticed, they're critical to every film. Getting mad at them for doing work nobody else wants to would be the equivalent of Jennifer Aniston going, "I feel threatened by coffee girl number 6. And to
No, like Lee just said in the chat, whites can be working poor just like anyone else. Like, you can clearly, it doesn't matter what race you are, your economic status isn't determined by your race, and where you end up in life according to that economic status, where you build yourself to or where you fall to, that has nothing to do with your race, religion, either, other than in today's society how we're moving forward in pushing for equality, which tends to be less than equal, equity, as we could say, because like I just said, it doesn't matter where you start out. It doesn't matter your race. You could start out here. You could be a black guy starting out there. You could be a black guy starting out here. You could be a white guy starting out there, over there, right there. You could be a white guy starting out right there. I don't know. Indian guy, he could be right there. Asian guy, he could be right down there. Or he could be up here. Indian guy, he could be up here. He could be right there. Anywhere he wants. If you don't feel that way, you're probably a racist. Like, figure it out.
further divide the American people, the administration has introduced the so-called public charge rule, which denies green cards to people who have used social programs or might use them in the future, even though undocumented immigrants are already barred from receiving any public assistance. That's like adding another sign next to "you must be this tall to ride" that just says "you must be this short to watch your brother from the bench like a dweeb." But this isn't just about cruelty. Republicans are running a larger, race-based political play. We know that by the year 2044, non-Hispanic white people will no longer be a majority. And now that Trump's in office, anti-immigrant zealots have been emboldened, and everyone from Fox News pundits to local politicians are saying the quiet part out loud.
In some parts of the country, it does seem like the America that we know and love doesn't exist anymore.
My suggestion, recommendation, keep Marysville a white community as much as possible.
If we don't do something about immigration very, very soon, the demographics of our country will be irrevocably changed, and we will be a very different country. It will not be the country you were born into.
No nation, no society has ever changed this much, this fast.
No nation? Okay, just for some context.
So they threw in like one, that was a little spicy. Keep it white. Now, one lady sounded a little fucked, but everyone else just said normal statements. They threw one racist thing in with a bunch of other statements, trying to equate them as being racist. You can't really do that. If something's racist, it is. If it's not, it's not. And I don't have the context for what the woman was saying. Taken out of context, it does sound racist, but I don't know what she was talking about. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and defend her, but I'm also not going to, I haven't watched the video. I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody else in that video should be put on the same level as somebody that's saying we should keep the community white. Other people were saying that things have changed. They're talking about environments and mindsets. Figure it out. Hey, yo, figure it out.
Turkey has taken in over 3 million Syrian refugees, while the US has taken in 18,000. Americans claiming we're number one at something we're clearly not is proof that we have not changed at all. Okay, but if I'm picking up what they're laying down, that means there will be fewer alienated white men with access to assault weapons and more kumbia and biryani? That sounds amazing! Now, the thing about Trump's anti-brown immigration policies is that they're not going to work. The Washington Post estimated that even if Trump got his way on limiting brown immigrants, he'd only be pushing back the date at which white people become a minority by a maximum of 5 years. So why even attempt to alienate non-white immigrants if you've already lost a white majority to that terrifying prospect of equality? I can think of only 2 reasons. 1, delaying demographic changes gives white nationalists a few more years to start their mythical race war.
The 7 white
Once
nationalists.
There's a remake of Top Gun with only black lesbian pilots and Lizzo singing Take My Breath Away, which would definitely kick it off.
I thought that she was like being facetious and making a joke of like what they thought the world was going to come to if they didn't start a race war, but then she literally says, which would definitely kick off. Do you think that society wants to move towards a world where we're making a remake of Top Gun with an all-black female cast that are overweight? Fuck off.
Also, I'd watch the out of that before I go fight. But the real reason to sideline just enough brown immigrants has everything to do with how the GOP has hijacked the democratic process. Republicans don't have to kick out all undocumented immigrants or rescind green cards or take away visas. They just have to limit them enough and make sure that the rest are never part of the political process. Take the US Census, which is coming up in 2020. The Trump administration is determined to add a citizenship question on the census and was narrowly stopped by the Supreme Court in doing so, but they'll keep trying. Newsbroke did a whole episode on the census, which you should watch after this. See, with the citizenship question, the government can scare brown communities across the country into not divulging their information, and thereby undercounting them and shaping democracy for the next decade. One think tank estimates.
What the flip does she mean by a brown community? We don't live in a segregated world. We don't live in the times of segregation here. There aren't just purely brown communities. People are discriminated on based on their economic standings. There can be white people who live in a predominantly Latino or Latinx community or a predominantly black community. there are large areas in which congregations of different races tend to gather, although nobody's legally binding them to those areas. It's not like there are... Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not about the legally binding thing, but maybe I'm wrong about the vast areas of purely black communities and purely white communities and purely Asian communities. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't have the perspective. But it just makes me so confused and angry when I hear people talk like that.
Estimated that between a citizenship question and new methods of census taking, the government could undercount as many as 4 million people. All this matters because the census determines how much funding a state receives, and it can sway a presidential election, since the census determines how many lawmakers each state has, and therefore how many electors in the Electoral College it has. Oh yeah, we still haven't wheeled that pile of garbage out to the curb, although it is the only thing keeping Ohio relevant, since Bone Thugs and Harmony. And all that's funny because Alabama is poised to actually lose representatives after 2020 because their population is dwindling. And that's ironic because Alabama is also leading the nationwide charge to exclude undocumented immigrants in the census, even though counting them would help them keep political control, because no one said racism was smart. Yet while the citizenship question was...
Yes, exclude undocumented immigrants from voting.
Struck down by the Supreme Court, gerrymandering along racial and political lines was just upheld. Good job, Brett and Neil. Here are your milk biscuits. Brett, that's Neil's. No, Brett, shh. For a refresher...
Is that how she talks to her dogs, or is that just her real voice?
Gerrymandering works like this.
Let's say you got
I shouldn't just mock this lady. I know, I'm like, she's making arguments and I'm just sitting here being upset with her. But, yeah, I shouldn't just mock the way that she's doing things, but what makes me upset is that demeaning tone, as though it doesn't matter what argument I would have to form against her, even if I was to be sitting down with her and bring up the facts, lay them out, show her the sources. Her mind's made up. It's not going to change, although throughout time and reflection, that may alter, but in the way that these types of people direct themselves to you and explain, they know the answers, they have the answers, and they are telling you what is going on. They are telling you what's up. This is right. This is the fact. You don't believe it? Well, then you're an idiot. You don't believe facts. You're dumb. That's just how I see it.
at a city, it's 60% black and it's 40% white, okay? Here's how you ensure white people stay in charge. Divide the city into 4 voting districts, but you put the entire black population in one district, 60% of the people. And then each district elects 1 city council member. And voila.
Racist ratatouille. Mwah. The census data will most certainly continue to be used by GOP lawmakers to manipulate the electorate in favor of Republicans, smaller states, and white people. So this anti-immigrant crusade is not Stephen Miller's long con to winning San Diego's annual guacamole competition, the Guac Bowl, though he's not ruling it out. This is about making sure America is ruled by a white minority. It's the same thing that motivates voter suppression in black communities and preventing the formerly incarcerated from voting. The goal is to insulate American democracy, no matter how brown the country gets, and protect it from actual democracy. So yes, our immigration policy is cruel and inhumane, but there is a point, and that means that in addition to real immigration reform, we have to hold tight to our democracy like a baguette. Oh, so chunky! Thanks so much for watching Newsbroke. Please follow me at FrannyFio on Twitter and Instagram. Let me know that you are watching. And follow AJ.
Go ahead and give her a follow if you want to help. If you want to follow in all her adventures there. Yeah, interesting. Like I said, she brought up she made an argument. Okay, and like I was just saying, the way that she directed it was, these are the facts. Listen to what I say. If you aren't listening to what I say, then why are you even here? There are some sources here. I'll put all of the sources in my description below so you can go through them if you want, but we're not going to sit here and go through everything. I'm honestly not going to sit here and form a giant argument against everything that was just laid out in this video. There were so many things, and you either have the mindset that America as a whole, America in its roots and in its foundation is racist, and that no matter what Trump does, there's going to be a racial bias behind it, and there's going to be a reason racially as to why he's doing it, and that brown people must go, and that Make America Great Again really means Make America White Again. And no matter what type of argument you try to form, that's not going to change some people's minds. That's not why I'm not having an argument. I'm not sitting here directly talking to the person. I'm having a conversation with you guys on the stream. So it's not like I need to get all upset and angry. Plus, I haven't sat down and formulated an argument against these points. I'm sure there are some pieces of information that are factually correct and that are framed incorrectly, like I had previously said. I don't think that America's genuinely racist. I don't think that the average American's racist. I don't think the American flag is racist. I've said racist so many times. This video is going to have $0 CPM. Yeah, I thought that it was interesting to watch, and the arguments that they lay out all, like I said, form around the same thing, that America's racist. So how do you guys feel? Do you think that Trump plans to keep America white? Do you think that that is the end goal, that he wants to kick out all of the brown people? There's a de-browning of America? Because they really didn't touch on other races. There's lots of other races immigrating to America, obviously, if people are immigrating, that aren't white. And so and there's lots of prosperous countries that immigrate to America that aren't white. So, okay. So I just want to know what you guys have to feel, what you guys have to say, how you feel, and where you're at on this. If you like AJ Plus, if you don't think that they really do have much in relation with Al Jazeera, if you do, just let me know what's going on. This is the Open Debate. This is the place that we get together to have real discussions. So that's pretty much where I'm going to end this stream for today, but I'll be back tomorrow. So hit the like button, share with your friends if you have the inclination, because that's the way the channel grows. YouTube does not like this type of content being out there, even though it's being pumped out by mainstream media every single day. Okay, guys, like I said, with that being said, my name's Elder. This has been the Open Debate. Be your own hero, kids.